Since its founding in 1869, Ursinus College athletes have received recognition, but not nearly enough. Tonight, for the first time ever, we bring you Ursinus College Sports Network, featuring the best of Ursinus College athletics. From previews and recaps of games to all the stats you need to know about players and teams, we make history tonight. So sit back, relax, and get ready as we present to you Sports on Main.
Good evening, Bears fans.
And welcome to the very first episode of Sports on Main. I'm your co-host, James Schold, with your wonderful co-host, Stephen Weissman.
Appreciate that, James.
We're here to provide you all with everything Ursinus sports to give our athletes the recognition we feel they so deeply deserve. Whether that be recaps, previews, statistics, inside analysis, or interviews, if it's Bears sports, we're on it.
Tonight for you all, we have a very special episode planned out. We will be recapping every single game from this weekend, interviewing Ursinus star running back Sam Ragland, diving deep into the stats with our two segments, Numbers on Numbers and Keys to Unlock Victory, and we will be previewing this week's upcoming games.
Well, we've got a lot of sports to cover, so why don't we get right into it?
Let's do it. On Saturday, the Ursinus men's soccer team took on the Bullets of Gettysburg College and unfortunately fell to them 3-0. The Bears fought hard, with Kevin Devlin and Aiden O'Malley each having 2 shots on goal. Tyler Lewin played a phenomenal game in net, saving 5 shots. Tuesday at 7 p.m., the Bears looked to bounce back against the Bryn Athyn Lions. After the game, we were fortunate enough to be able to catch up with starting center back Mike Buck. He said this: "The scoreline will not show it, but we played well on Saturday against a very good team. We went into halftime 0-0, and we were getting a ton of chances. We gave up a couple unfortunate goals in the second half and just couldn't put away any ourselves. For Tuesday's game, our goal is to lock it down in the back on crosses and free kicks and get more opportunities on net ourselves." On Saturday, the Ursinus women's soccer team also took on the Bullets of Gettysburg College, unfortunately also falling 2-0. Mandy Caridio played a great game in net, saving 9 shots. The Bears couldn't put much on the box score, but they did get 1 shot each from Alex Chalmers, Michaela Heiser, and Skylar Knapp. The Bears look to bounce back on Wednesday at 7:30 against the Bryn Mawr Owls. After the game, we were able to catch up with Taylor Beaumont and ask her a couple of questions. Saturday's game was a wake-up call for us in the sense that we realized that all of our conference games were going to be similar to that one, and that we need to step it up from then on out if we're going to prove everyone wrong about us. We want to be better than we were in 2019, and it's 100% possible. To prepare for our next game, we are rebuilding from the Gettysburg game and focusing on how we can work together as a team to keep the ball. Sounds like a pretty good plan, Taylor. On Saturday, the Ursinus women's golf team traveled to McDaniel to play in the McDaniel Invitational. Jessica Lamarca played phenomenally for the Bears, placing second and shooting a career-best 79. Kaylin Chen placed second for the Bears, shooting a 100 in her career debut. Carolyn DeCicco carded a 110, while Chen's rookie counterpart, Annalise Dickinson, finished with a 125. Rebecca Chernoff rounded off the Bears, finishing with a 132. On Sunday, the men's golf team traveled to Wilmington, Delaware, to play in Swarthmore's Frederick W. Anton Memorial Invitational. Jordan Pick led a balanced effort with an 86 for the Bears, who posted a team total of 355 in the second of 3 tournaments over an 8-day stretch. Kyle Hoke shot an 87 for the second straight round to open the season. Billy Cardino logged his second consecutive sub-90 round, finishing with an 88 to edge out his opening score by 1 stroke. Evan Coffey recorded a 94 in his Ursinus debut, and Luke Godziba shot a 99.
Thanks for that, Stephen. The women's volleyball team traveled to Newman University to play in the Knights Invitational last week. The Bears played Widener, Pitt Bradford, and Moravian. Unfortunately, the Bears were unable to secure victory this weekend. However, there are some notable statistics to take into account. Katie Cressman averaged 11 kills per game in the tournament and was also named to the all-tournament team. Rachel Bernard averaged 22 assists per game, and Emma Olofsky averaged 11 digs per game in the tournament. Next, the Bears will play against the Diplomats of Franklin and Marshall on Saturday at home. This past Friday, the Bears of Ursinus College field hockey team lost an overtime thriller 4-3 with number 19, Lynchburg University. Midway through the second quarter, Laura Rothschild was able to score an unassisted goal that you'll see here. Then not too long later in the second quarter, Jordan Moore, assisted by Amanda Growling, was able to find the back of the net for the Bears, taking the lead 2-1 at the time. Then, later in the fourth, Mary Lauren Franz, assisted by Jamie Mayer, is able to put the ball in the back of the net to tie the game at 3 for the Bears. Take a look at this play. Michaela Basler, the goalie for the Bears, had 8 saves on 12 shots. Tuesday, the Bears will travel to Ewing, New Jersey to take on the number 4 team in the country, TCNJ. And lastly, to wrap up our recaps from this weekend, the Bears traveled to Scotty Wood Stadium to take on the number 8 Muhlenberg Mules. Bears were able to get the scoring attack going with Kevin DePrince on a 4-yard receiving touchdown from Jack Pazinska. Not too long later in the second quarter, Sam Ragland was able to add to his first of 3 touchdowns on the day. Then if you look here, a 55-yard bomb down the field to number 1 Octavius Carter gets into the end zone for the Bears, taking the lead after the half, 21-14. Then on the very next drive, Aaron Anderson, cornerback for the Bears, is able to pick this one off and take it back for 6, 28-14 Bears. Early in the fourth, a tip pass leads to Aaron Anderson's second interception where he could go all the way down at the 12-yard line for the Bears. A couple plays later, Sam Ragland is able to take in rushing touchdown number 2 for the day. 35-35 apiece. Later in the fourth quarter, Ragland gets the ball again, makes a move, scampering his way to the end zone for number 3, and that is number 35 in Ursinus history to lead the touchdown record. Then here, later in this fourth quarter, the Bears are able to get a stop. And later in the fourth quarter, on a last-ditch effort, Michael Natkaski throws it down the field, intercepted by Ryan D. Virgilis, and that should just about wrap it up for the Bears as they secure the victory, 42-35 over the number 8 Mules of Muhlenberg. And the boys are going crazy.
Thanks for that, James. Now we're going to keep it on the football path and head right into this interview that James was lucky enough to catch with Sam Ragland, the star running back who played a very important role in this victory over the Muhlenberg Mules. Here's what he had to say.
Welcome to Sports on Main. I'm James Schuld here with a very special guest. We have Sam Ragland, star running back for Ursinus College. Sam, how you feeling today?
Feel good, James. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So, after Saturday's game, 104 rushing yards on 25 carries, 4 receptions for 25 yards, and 3 rushing touchdowns to add to that. Tell me about the game a little bit.
It was. We knew it was going to be a hard-fought game coming in. They were ranked number 8 in the country, perennially a top-ranked Centennial as well as national opponent.
Yeah.
So it was a long week of preparation, but we were excited to get after them because we felt like this is one that everyone felt like would win, but this one especially felt extra sweet. Especially after getting injured in 2019 against the same team at halftime in a close game. So I couldn't wait to get back out there and get after them. So getting a win like this was real sweet, especially over there. I think we hadn't won over there since 1999.
Yeah, since '99. That was
so,
the stat.
it felt great just to get out there, to win with your boys and get that win was special, especially for the school.
Yeah, definitely. Would you say that there was a point in the game at all that you just knew that the game was like the Bears to be had? It was their game.
I'm not gonna lie. All week we talked about bouncing back and just having a great week of practice, and all week we just felt like we could win the game. I'm not gonna lie. Watching film, we knew they were a good team coming in, well coached, but we trusted our players in the game plan that we had, and that if we executed, we would win the game. But I would say that I think it was a neck and neck game throughout. But once we got to the fourth quarter and it was tied, I just brought the offense together, and I was like, yo, we need one quarter. Win one quarter and win this game. And I told the defense the same thing, and we were all just locked in. You know what I'm saying? And coach talked about us having more will than the other team, and I think we did Saturday.
Yeah, definitely.
We just were locked
I would
in.
definitely agree with that. There was more will in the Bears than there was in the Eagles on Saturday.
For sure.
So you were also a part of the last top 25 win against Hopkins on this field,
Yeah.
actually. Your freshman year. Would you say this one tops that one?
That's hard. It's funny. I was actually thinking about that, talking to a couple alumni, and I wouldn't say it tops it, but I would say it was definitely a great feeling of elation. We were psyched to win that game. Way back my freshman year, but this one just felt a little different. I'm not gonna lie to you. It kind of felt overdue, and kind of maybe a little sweeter. I'm not gonna lie, because my freshman year we were coming into the game 4-0. Hopkins coming to 4-0, so it was a battle. But this year, losing to Hopkins, I think we lost a lot of respect.
Yeah,
we were ranked
coming in as
6th
underdog.
in the preseason polls, which I thought was disrespectful. And so we shocked the nation, and it was
Absolutely.
exciting to do that. So
Absolutely. The nation was shocked for sure. And, after Saturday's win, Bears received 9 top 25 votes. So after, a possible win next week, do you think that's something that the Bears could do, crack into the top 25?
I hope so. But listen, we're just gonna keep winning games and lead up to the committee. So all we want to do is just take it game by game, and we want to go 1-0 every week. So that's our goal from here on out, and we'll let everyone else decide the rest of our fate. But we know that if we win and do what we got to do week in and week out, there's no stopping the Bears.
Yeah, and Sam, we know you're a big team guy, but let's get to about yourself a little bit. This past weekend, now you're 4th all-time in rushing yards, and now that you just passed Sherrod Duncan for 1st all-time in 35 rushing touchdowns. So just talk to me about that. How does it feel, and how is it all possible?
Well, it definitely feels good. First I got to give all glory to God. Without Him, none of this would be possible. And shout out my family. They're consistent supporters, always there, come to every game. Grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins watching live streams from New York, North Carolina. So shout out to them. And then again, I gotta shout out, my team, my coaches, my teammates. Without the line up front blocking like they do, I couldn't score those touchdowns. Receivers doing their job, quarterback giving me the ball, coaches trusting me to put me in positions to make plays. So it definitely felt good, and it was funny. I didn't realize I got it until I was in the locker room, and all the guys were like, yo, congrats, and I was like, congrats to me, congrats to all of us, won the game. And they were like, no, bro, you broke the record. And I was like, oh, again, for me, I don't do it for the stats, but, it is definitely, humbling to be in the same category.
And
as
you
some
play
of
as well
these
as you do.
greats.
The accolades do end up coming. So,
I
and
appreciate it.
F&M this weekend, like I said, homecoming weekend. I got to ask you, can you guarantee a win this weekend for the Bears?
I don't want to get ahead of myself, and I don't want to speak out of turn. You know how I feel. I feel like every game is a win. But I feel like we prepare like we have the last 3 weeks, and execute, do what we do. I don't see anyone beating us.
I don't either. So, Sam, appreciate you. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me, James.
That's James Schuld from UCSN Sports on Main. Back to you in the studio.
What a great interview, James. It's really phenomenal to catch up with Sam and see what he has to say about everything.
Yeah, thank you. I agree. Sam did really bring in some great insight.
Now for our next segment, Numbers on Numbers, where we dive in deep into the stats behind all these games.
So like we mentioned in the interview, Sam Ragland became Ursinus' all-time leading touchdown rusher with 35 in his career. To add to that, Sam is now 4th on the all-time yardage list with 2,338 yards. To add to that with the football track, this was the team's first victory in Allentown since 1999 and the first over a top 10 opponent in school history. And lastly, head coach Pete Gallagher got his 100th win in the win over the Mules on Saturday. A very important milestone in the illustrious career for Coach Gallagher.
All right, enough with football. We know how great the football team is. Let's move on to the golf team. On Saturday, women's golf player Jess Lamarca, she shot a 79, which matches the best individual round by any Ursinus golfer since Emily McGarrigle's 79 at the Centennial Conference Championship in 2018. Now heading over to soccer, Marco Grenda is leading the entire Centennial Conference in goals with 6, as well as leading the conference in shot percentage in players with more than 5 shots with 33%.
And that was numbers on numbers. This week, we have a full slate of games prepped for you here at Ursinus College. First on Tuesday, field hockey takes on number 4 TCNJ at TCNJ at 4 o'clock. Also on Tuesday, men's soccer takes on Bryn Athyn on our Patterson Field at 7 p.m.
Also on Tuesday, both men's and women's golf have our home invitational, the Ursinus Invitational, at Ravens Call Golf Club in Pottstown, Pennsylvania, starting at 1 o'clock. On Wednesday, women's soccer is taking on Bryn Mawr, looking to bounce back on Patterson Field at 7:30. Now, heading into our final segment, Keys to Unlock Victory, we will be focusing on the field hockey team's upcoming matchup against number 4 nationally ranked TCNJ. TCNJ is a top 5 team, and they have only allowed 6 goals in their first 5 games this year.
The Bears definitely need to figure out how to attack that line-stout defense, get the balls rolling early, and definitely get some important early goals.
TCNJ lost their last game they played against Messiah College, who Ursinus happens to play next Wednesday. So if Ursinus happens to beat TCNJ and Messiah College next week, then the Bears are looking at a big jump in the rankings, and I think it's going to happen, James.
Me too, I think so as well. And that just about wraps up everything we have here at Sports on Main.
Before we go, one last thing we have to mention. All of our socials are on the screen right now and can also be found down in the description of the video. And if you or your friend or your roommate have any amazing plays that you see happen in Ursinus sports and you want to see featured on our show, there will be details on how to do so in the description below. We look forward to hearing from you all, and thank you very much.
Be sure to tune in on Friday for our week recap and the weekend preview, which also includes Family Day. From all of us here at Sports on Main, I'm our co-host James Schuld with co-host Stephen Weissman, and as always,
Go Bears.
Sports on Main.
All right, can we run